the AdoreKnit Podcast, which is a podcast about knitting and stitch markers and progress keepers and more knitting and my family and my life. So if that sounds good to you, come on, let's chat. This is episode 23. I'm your host, Steph. I've got a pretty decent sized show for you today, so let me just tell you what's on the menu. I think the menu will be over here. It will be a prize drawing, a shop update, some new cast-ons, whips, a finished object, and then a little bit about life. So let's go straight to it, shall we? Okay, first up, the hashtag AdoreKnit prize, which is a prize that a monthly drawing that we do for our little shop, which is AdoreKnit on Etsy. And there were 66 entries this month. Yay, thank you everyone. And the winner was number 46, who is Just Share 523. So thank you so much, Share, for entering. She had one of the blue hot cocoa cups that we have, one of those markers on her, well, it's a progress keeper, but had that on. Thanks for sharing your markers, your cute cat, and balloon vine. I don't know if they were socks. I couldn't tell from the picture. And she had a super cute kitty. So that is the prize drawing. Next, we're going to get all the administrative stuff out of the way. So next is, and I talk with my hands. If you're new to the show, welcome. Yes, I talk fast. I talk with my hands. I'm from New England. Shop update.
What's up, Buttercup? What's new in the shop this week? We have first up a Mandalorian-inspired marker set that includes a child Yoda keeper, and you could also choose to go with a Mandalorian keeper. All right, the Harry Potter stuff is next. First is our new Dumbledore wand. We are so excited to have this new wand shawl pin in the shop. Now, this is a new brass Hufflepuff crest set that includes a pinecone beginning of the round marker. We've already unveiled the Ravenclaw one. Okay, you ready? Next will be the new lightweight, small, Harry Potter themed markers and keepers. So yes, this little Hufflepuff along with a progress keeper that explains the qualities of a Hufflepuff. And then if you put them all together with some great medium-sized markers, those fit needles 3 to 6. There you go. Ravenclaw. Here's what the front and the back of this one looks like. I love the little rhinestones in with the creatures. And then here's the front and the back of the definition of a Ravenclaw, and then put them all together with the medium-sized markers, and there you go. These are perfect for socks. They are super lightweight. I love mine. I like big books and I cannot lie. This is a reimagining of a set we've already had. I love it so much. And then St. Patrick's Day. All right, here's another double-sided progress keeper, along with an extra little clover hanging off it. And then this clover has a rhinestone at the center of it and a knitter. You know, these are perfect for a knitter. You got your sock and your clover. You are ready for St. Patty's Day. Thanks for checking out our February update.
So the update that aligns with this will go live on Friday, February 14th. It's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, my knit lovelies. I hope if you hate it, you hate it, and it's just another day. And if you like Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day to you. So happy Valentine's Day. I am knitting with a Valentine's Day bag. This is a bag that my mom made for the boys for their goodies this weekend. And the minute that they had eaten all their chocolate and wands and I don't know what else was in it, I stole a bag and said, I'm knitting in this for this week because I love it. These pinks, I don't know if it'll show well on camera, they're metallic. So super cute. I have 2 of these, one for each of the boys, and because it is a long bag. She made it like an envelope bag, not a box bag, which I always like a box bag. But, so I've been folding it down, which is just as cute, right? And pulling my knitting that way, because it's really deep for knitting otherwise. But it'd be great for embroidery, cross stitch, whatever those are. So, and Steve traveled last week, and he was in Denver, and this week he was in New York. And before he went to New York, he came home with some roses for me. So he used to buy me a lot of flowers when we were first dating. Like, roses were his favorite thing. Almost weekly he would come with a rose or a half dozen or something, you know. And so now he buys them a couple times a year. And it's just like, oh, remember when we were young and in love? It's a waste of money. I really don't like to get flowers as it is, but it's okay. It makes us both feel happy. So I think it's worth it in that case. So I forgot to say, there's also going to be an addition. Okay, so let's do the addition right away. I sort of previewed this. I watched Tommy from Squirrel Pie Productions. She's super cute. She's in California. She's a little tiny thing that knits all kinds of beautiful sweaters and has tons of energy. So I've probably watched a dozen of her shows. She's pretty new to me, but she dyes yarn, and she has Moonstone Dye Works. And when she showed this set of minis, I about lost it. So these are, I couldn't get a 2-ply sock. She was sold out of those, so I got the Stellina base. So they do have a bit of sparkle in them. The purple, if I hold them like that, purple, this is like a beigey color, oatmeal, a nice lavender, a soft dusty pink, a beautiful denim, faded denim blue, and then like a seafoam green. It's hard to tell, but yes, that one is green. It's pretty close to the oatmeal. So I think, and they're so soft, and they're the 2-ply base that I like. That's my favorite to knit with of all yarns out there. And it's 438 yards. And I think this is going to be a 3-color cashmere cowl, some sort of, or maybe Corey AdoreKnit's, I think it's called the Librarian Cowl, something that uses minis and will really showcase the beauty of this. So they're so soft. I love them. They're 75 merino, 20 nylon, 5% stellina. So this was my little splurge this week. My yarn babies. Very cute. I don't have any knitting on. I feel a little bit naked, but that's the way it goes, right? So yeah. So if you would like to check her out, there's the name of her shop. And she is Dynamite Trulio on Instagram and YouTube. So that's my acquisition treat for this week. New cast-ons. Okay. I've been like crazy this morning. What time is it? I don't even know. It must be around 10. And I sat down to like write my quick show notes and do the prize drawing and just quickly find some royalty-free music, because that's always a thing. I hate it when YouTube like gives me a black mark for not using royalty-free music, but I like a variety of music. So I just got a bunch, so we're good now. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so I was doing all these things and I totally forgot to look if I had shared on the podcast Daryl's hat. I'm pretty sure I did. This, I'm going to have a sip, is Starbucks blonde, whatever the blonde roast is, with 2 pumps of cookies and cream and chocolate almond milk. And it's delicious. Iced, of course. Always iced. So I will delay that one. We'll look at that in finished objects, because that's what it is. So the first cast on, besides that, was... Okay, wait, back up. The, what's it called? The knit along I was doing ended. Totally blanking. The Super Bowl happened, it was over, and so I could cast on big projects that I'd been waiting for. And my mom has a jacket that is teal on the outside, or hunter green on the, like green on the outside and teal on the inside. So she had come in here and picked the Hummingbird colorway from Sun-Soaked Yarns, and it's a 80/20 superwash merino nylon. I may have mentioned that I bought this in I bought it pre-caked because I love that she offers that. So it's a really bright colored yarn. My dream knitting had been that I was going to knit the 22, I'm maybe standing too close, 22.5 shawl. So it's a garter stitch shawl, free, by Martina Bem. Black and white, not a great picture, right? But the point of this shawl is that it's very shallow, it's pretty long. So I thought that would be great. I could knit this, not too much thinking. I need something mindless. I want to finish it before the month of February is over. So I've gotten a really great start. I am mid-row. Sorry guys, don't shoot me. It's hard to show. But really, what does a shallow triangle shawl look like besides a shallow triangle? So here's the center spine. It is a free pattern, so I will tell you that the increases are done every third row on the center spine. And that's really hard because so often we do things in twos in the knitting world, and I guess I could change it, but if I did it in twos, it would be a deeper triangle. And the point of this is I want it shallow and I want it to look symmetrical with the increases spaced at the right points for the pattern. So I have ripped back at the beginning, the first day, I ripped back probably 5 rows because I did one side but not the other. It looked off and it bugged me because, I'm the only person who will ever know, but it will always bug me. I can't let some things go. So I'm not going to look too close at it like I'm looking at it right now. I'm just going to keep going from here. There is a little bit of pooling that happens. That's just the nature of knitting with a variegated yarn. So you can see there are going to be pops of teal. I hope she likes it. What do you think, Mom? I know she watches. That's why I'm asking her. So definitely not a surprise project. And I need to increase up to 350 stitches. And every 20 new stitches, I'm putting in a stitch marker just to help me so that I don't keep counting, because I will keep counting. That's the type of person I am. So I have 2, 4, 6, 80. So I have 160 stitches on the needle, and I have to add about another 190. So this has a ways to go, but as I said, super easy, mindless knitting. The boys had a play date yesterday. Tristan had a friend over, and then Roland went to a friend's house. It was a snow day. And yeah, I was just sitting there talking with the boys, knitting away, and that's what I want it to be. So, and my dad stopped over. This house was hopping compared to the usual solo me. Okay, so normally I talk about Norm. Now Dave, he works across the street. Dave works. We have 3 Daves on our street. So this is old Dave. We have family Dave, old Dave, and young Dave, who just had a baby. But old Dave still goes to work, and he just left his house and drove by very slowly because I am standing right in front of the window talking to you. So I'm sure he was like, what is she doing? It's okay. He's used to me riding the lawnmower and singing. So whatever. He's the Dave we're least friendly with. It's nothing wrong with old Dave, but he's like a bachelor and he does yard work and that's about it. So we wave. Anyway, so that's by Martina Bem. Did I say that? I'm knitting it on size 3s. These are my Christmas needles and cord that I got from Steve. What are they? Knitter's Pride Zing. Just, inexpensive needles. They're pretty dull, to be honest with you guys. I am a huge fan of carbons, and I've ordered a couple other, I think I got like a pair of 5s and 6s because I do like the color, of course, but they're pretty snub tip. They remind me of Addie's, so I won't be buying any more of these, even though they're pretty. I like a sharp needle. So here's that. My next cast on, we're going to talk about this for a while.
It's 8:30 at night. I just left the boys' room. They are not asleep for sure, bouncing off the wall, screaming. And I had Mountain Dew at 5 o'clock, I think. So I'm kind of wired still. So I'm thinking I'm going to cast on a sweater. Really shouldn't. I have lots of works in progress right now, but I really want to cast and I've been waiting forever. So I'm thinking that's gonna happen. Even if I just do the inch of ribbing at the neck. Like, I want to get this on the needles.
Under the Knit Love Wool name. I printed the pattern so tiny I can't even read it because I was trying to save my ink. Ugh. Anyways, I've been wanting to knit this for quite some time. It's all over Instagram. You've seen it. And I did a post on Instagram and crowdsourced it. And thank you so much. Thank you, everyone out there. I'm sending thanks out to the world because it was great. I had 3 color combinations. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I got feedback on them. So it made it way easier to decide. So let's see, red gray. This combination was the one that won out. These 3 together. My primary color in my sweater is going to be this lavender. It's a blue purple. I keep saying lavender. I should go steady up on my color names, my purple colors. But anyways, that's going to be the main color of the sweater, right? And then the second choice option was the blue red, but it was like 17-5. So definitely going to stay with the red. Now you're saying to yourself, Stephanie, the Garden Gate pattern is a 2 color. Why are you showing me 3 color combinations? Well, because sometimes I'm confused. So this is what I'm going to go with. Ultimately, this is what I decided, these 2, and I'll drop out the gray. So the yarn I'm using, okay, you know how Instagram has annoying ads? I'm susceptible to ads. I've bought all kinds of things off Facebook and Instagram that they've shown to me, and I'm like, I need that. So have you seen the HOBBII, I think, that yarn? Well, I saw some come up and I thought, let me just price out a sweater's worth. And it was under a sweater's, no, I got 2 sweaters worth for $80. Like, crazy cheap, right? And this is baby merino, their baby merino yarn. It's 100% superwash wool. Oh yeah, HOBBII. Can you see it right there? This is their baby merino. This is my first skein. I have knit maybe 100 yards and I've hit 2 knots. So I hope that this is not about 8 skeins of this color. I hope that this is not indicative of what all the skeins will be like, because then I will have a lot of ends to weave in. If it is, then live and learn, and I won't be buying yarn from them again. You get so spoiled. I knit with indie dyers 90% of the time. Like, I rarely use, well, I shouldn't say that because I do knit with Opal, but most of my knitting is indies and they don't give us knots. So I hit the first one and I was like, okay, a knot's all right. I hit the second one and there was some internal cursing going on. So you want to see it? Okay, so the pattern is written, it uses 3 different needle sizes. You change as you go. Color work is always a bigger needle size. If you didn't know this, you should always knit your color work in 1 size up from the body of whatever you're knitting, sock, garment, mitten, whatever, hat. You should always do the color work looser, 1 size up needle, because it cinches in. So I haven't even gotten to the color work yet, so it's not like this is going to be very exciting for you guys to see, but here you go, my collar. And so you see how tiny it is? There, that's the front. See how tiny it is, and already have 2 knots is like, what's going on here? So it is knit so that the collar has a little rolled hem on it, which is fine with me. Haven't checked my gauge. I'm supposed to be getting 8 stitches to the inch. Oh, that's a sport weight. Did I mention that? Yeah, it's a sport weight. I'm a loose knitter, and so I'm just gonna check my gauge and then knit to the size that my gauge matches, if that makes sense to you, because I wanted to use the needles recommended, and so by going up from the pattern calls for fingering, by going to sport, that ensures that my stitches will be nice and full and not holy, not too loose a gauge on the needles. So, and I didn't want to think too much, and my, what's that sweater? It's a yoke sweater. I wear it all the time. I just finished it. I want to say traveling, but that's not it. Anyways, no, something's Sunset Highway. There we go. Got it. Caitlin Hunter, Sunset Highway. I theoretically knit a size 8 inches too big for me, and it fits me perfect. So I'm a little hesitant with this, so I may err on the side of I'll make it just a little bigger. So the pattern calls for long tail cast on, fine, I did that, normal. German short rows in it, so I watched a little video on how to do German short rows, and she has an, she calls it an invisible left increase, increase. I'd never done one before. The pattern has links out to videos for everything, so from Goodreader, I could just click on the link and it would take me out to a YouTube video. I'd watch the video, I'd do the thing. It's very convenient to use the Goodread app for that, and it's much better than trying to stare at my little tiny writing. I do like to go through and highlight with Goodreads highlight the size I'm on. So yeah, there's my little start of a purple sweater, and there's my Mandalorian marker. So Vicky, if you're watching, I heard you. I know. We've got some now. So there's that. Isn't that exciting? I'm starting a new colorwork sweater. Yesterday was a lost day with all the hustle and bustle around the house. So if I didn't have to do shop work, I would be knitting on that all day today. So, but I can't let it distract me from working on mom's stuff either. I need a sock blocker, so we're gonna moving into whips, and I really only have one to show you. So you all know me, you know, I gotta watch that. Sometimes when my parents, because they still do the old school DVDs from Netflix, when they get a good one, they'll tell me, oh, you gotta watch it, and they'll give it to me to watch, and I'll watch it. So, yeah, because my hubby does not watch movies. So anyways, yes, I do have a lot of whips. Not even counting the UFOs, right? I have a lot of whips, but really these 4 are all that I've focused on. So yes, everything else is still out there, and it will get love again, but not today. So here's my first sock. Woohoo! And here's my progress on my second sock. So these are my February Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. What's the colorway name? Witches of Eastwick, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. Can you see it if I tip it around? I knit pretty much a lot. This is my most knitted pattern. Yeah, for sure. So toe up, size 0 needles, Desert Vista Dyeworks, Visio base. I did do color management through the heel to get some stripes and to keep it a little bit interesting. I'm definitely not going to match the second one to that heel. Yeah, and then just a normal bind off. Nothing special about that. So I just want to, I'm trying to think of something to say because I just want to hold them. I think they're so pretty. They go good with everything. So pretty. So when I knit a pair of Desert Vista socks, I typically use 54 to, let's say 64. I think I've had some 75 gram that I've used that much of the skein, and they're 100 gram skeins. So if these are they're a size 10, they're smaller than I normally would knit. So I may, if I go contrast heels and toes, I may have enough to knit myself a pair of these as well. Or I could make fingerless mitts, and then I could look at them all the time. I do that. So anyways, and second but not least, and look at the little dino, he matches perfect. I love it when you have a project and a bag and a marker all come together. So cute. And these are, you probably already know, Chaigu, I think they're called the red lace, Chaigu needles with the red cable, and I like them. I like the kind of texture of the cord. It's kind of fun. Just a little bit different than I'm used to. So there's that. Now let's talk about finished objects. I think I at least talked about wanting to knit this. So this is my finished Lucky hat. So this hat is a pay-for pattern. It's by, I don't remember, but you can pretty much guarantee I've written it right there. And yeah, so the pattern, let's see, it has 4 different cables. I don't knit with a cable needle normally. Like I've never, here, there. I've never knit with a cable needle. But for this, because I was knitting on size 8s, 7s or 8s, and I was fingering weight yarn double, and some of the cables are in the high teens, I opted to, I took one of the ends, one of the tips from my interchangeables. I think it was a 4 or a 5. Actually, I know it's a 5 because when I needed a 5 for the garden gate, I had the tip floating in the bag. So, and I put that on the right hand end, the working end, and I left the size 3 needle on the back end, and I was able to keep going. But now that I'm thinking about this, I need to go change the back half now that I'm downstairs where my needles are. Anyways, okay. So I used a interchangeable tip, needle tip, as my cable needle, and it turned out great. So the yarn is a strand of MCN from Into the World, Chris, Mithrindal, whatever that you call the dwarven, Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, the dwarves have chainmail, and that is called, that's the name of this colorway. And for some reason, I can't say it, but I know what it is. So it's one strand of that, and then a strand of sun-soaked yarns in this color right here, moss, which is a great color. And is that MCN? I can't remember. I think it's I don't know, but the hat itself is very soft. I love the big fat cable right there. That's my favorite. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty nice. As a knitter, I can see that there's some gray pooling going on here, but I don't think the man that this is for is even gonna notice. He's bald. Well, he's got that like horseshoe of hair around the bottom. And he's got a big head too, like us. So I did an extra cable repeat. No, more like an inch. Just an extra inch of length, because I figured the baldness would makes the hat sit closer to his head, right? Versus the poof of my hair. So that made me think, okay, an adult's large could probably work, but then knowing that he has a larger head, I thought, okay, I'll add an extra inch of length. So should be good. The decreases at the top were very straightforward and very fast. So that was interesting to me. And if it's too long, he can always just fold up the ribbing. So, yay, it's done. And I used 30% of both of those skeins. So, all in all, it ended up being like a 320 yard hat when you added up the two together. So I still have plenty of yarn left of both of those skeins to do another project. So about 300 yards of each left. So that's great. Yeah, so that's the end of the knitting. If you would like to hear about what's going on in my life and what I'm reading and what I'm watching, stick around. So you've heard me talk about my friend Lauren, right? She is, we went to high school together, and she and Steve and I, the three of us went to high school together, and she and Steve met in like 5th grade. So she's been around for a very long time, and we're so happy to have her and her husband in our lives, right? So her husband we met in college. She met him in college and introduced him to us. And he went to the Maritime Academy, and he has worked his way up, and we are so proud of him. He's 38, and as of 2 days ago, he is a ship captain. I'm so happy for him. So it's wonderful. So the boys call him Uncle Nate, and so now they're calling him Uncle Captain. It was cute. So there's that. The last Sunday we went to a birthday party at a climbing gym, indoor climbing gym, and we've never done climbing, right? And Roland told me that that's my 8-year-old, that he had done it with, not at that particular location, but with the summer camp, which is like a rec summer camp. They do swimming, they do travel, they do all these events, that he had done climbing gyms before. So, okay, I'm not familiar with any of it. So, and both of my boys were invited, which is so sweet that one of Roland's friends, he's pretty friendly with both of my boys. They play soccer. They've played soccer together for years, and when they get together, it's almost like he's like that perfect link in between my two. I mean, my two play. They're 8 and 5, and their friend Aiden is 8 as well. But, well, now he's 9. But he plays so well with both of the boys, so it's great. And so he wanted both of his friends to come, so they both went. And Tristan absolutely loved climbing, so he was like, Mom, when can we go back? When can we go back? And Roland was good with it. He enjoyed it plenty, but he's not interested in doing it. So soccer season is ending, let's see, indoor futsal, which is the small teams of soccer that Row does twice a week. That's ending this week. Next week, their extra coaching by the professionals is ending during school vacation week, is the last session of that. And then we have about a month until spring soccer starts up. So I mentioned that soccer started in March. I don't think I told you this. I don't think we knew. Roland's made the Premier League. Whoop, whoop. We had soccer tryouts, and he and his buddy Aiden that play soccer together, that have played soccer together for the last 3 years, 4 years, I don't know, a long time. They both made the premier team. So that is so exciting. They may just ride the bench all season, but that's okay. They made the Premier League, or the premier team, not the Premier League. They are not going to England. So we were really excited about that. But practices for the premier team start a month earlier, and they're indoors. So there's none of this like April 28th. And it's raining, so we cancel for 2 weeks of practices, which is what it'll be for Tristan. They're going to start a whole month earlier, so they should get all of the kinks out of their game and, like, get it down. And I'm so excited for him to have a real coach, like a honest-to-goodness, you know, here are plays and game plans, and I think it's really going to help his game. Thinking we'll go to the climbing gym a few times. They have I think it's called the Monkey Club on Saturday or Sunday, one morning, that kids can, you know, you could drop them off, and they do all these fun activities, and like the floor is lava, so you have to find your way around. And it was a very basic, gritty place. Like my friend Amy, the mom, had said, you know, don't be surprised, it's a little bit dingy and dirty. It is, but when you think about what they're doing and who frequents these places, it just made it feel more authentic being in there and being like, yeah, I can see a little bit of exposed beams up there, and this place isn't high polish and whatever. So it was fun. So we'll be doing that again. And it's always cool to find a new activity, right? So as we age into different interests, what are our options in our area of activities we can do? On Tuesday, the boys had the day off. I know. They had Thursday a snow day. Tuesday they were home. And then they had vacation in 5 days. But they were home Tuesday, and I had saved all my errands for Tuesday. Because, you know, if they're going to be home, I don't want them just playing video games all day, which is what they would love to do. So we did all the errands, and then the bribe was we can go to the Children's Museum, which we have a membership to, when we're done. And we were there along with lots of other, it wasn't too full. It was pretty full, but not too full. And did I say that Tuesday was closed for voting? Because they've decided, it didn't used to be like this, but the last 2 elections, they've done voting in one of the schools, so all of the schools are closed. So, right, whatever. The teachers use it as a workshop day. So, I'm blanking. I lost my place. So we went, and it's basically a toddler's place. Like, Ro is at the very upper. He's teetering. Like, if he didn't have a younger brother, it would be too young for him. I'll say it like that. And so I watched Roland playing in the post office part of the museum with an 18-month-old next to him, and it's like, we went there when he was 18 months old, you know? And I had this little pang of, oh, we're aging out of the children's museum. So it's counterbalanced by, oh, and we're now strong enough and mature enough that we can handle climbing a wall and, you know, belaying off it and having the motivation to, okay, let me do it again. Let me see what I can do different, and figuring out strategically how to hold themselves. So, you know, things change. It's never the same, right? Along the same lines of aging up and things changing, it's been very interesting. There's a clear distinction between second and third grade in the curriculum. I think it's partly because they know how to read now, or most of them know how to read now, where they're like getting more mastery and less basic initial information. So, I mean, they did the Iditarod in second grade, and Ro really loved researching that and learning about it every day. But they're now moving into a unit on immigration, and I think it's very interesting. I hope the school doesn't get negative feedback for this, because maybe they've always done this, or maybe this is a response to the current political climate. But Roland came home with a form asking, and it said right on it, if you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know. But who was the first person to come to the United States on your mom's side? Who was the first person on your dad's side? What year did they come? Where did they come from? What country did they come from? And then it went into like tell us the meaning of everyone's name. The meaning of your name, the meaning of, which is kind of boring because mom and dad both mean crowned, but whatever. And we're both have Greek derivative names, whereas Roland has a French derivative name. So I think I'm hoping that this is going to go to a lesson in we are all immigrants, or almost all of us. You know, the majority of Americans are immigrants. So we'll see. They sent out a request for volunteers. They're going to take all 3 elementary schools, all 3 third grades, pull them together into one location and do a Ellis Island simulation. And so they need people to come serve as the immigration officers. So I'm gonna totally volunteer for that. I love talking to the little people. I love the first graders, but the third graders are okay too. Fourth graders get tough. They get a little opinionated. So we'll see how much volunteering I do at that point. But I think it's gonna be a really cool lesson. So there's that going on with us. Let's see. I finished a book this week. I finished The Witcher, the 3rd book, I want to say, The Baptism of Fire. And when I finished it, I thought, you know what, it's February. It's early enough. I could do a book goal for the year. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who recommended it, but there's someone on Instagram that I follow that every book that she finishes, she labels it, you know, book 2 of 50. And then she gives a little synopsis and opinion on it. And I thought, I want to do that too. Because a few of the books I've read, a few of the really good ones, I think Burial Rites came from her. And then she just recommended a Camelot themed, it's called the Guinevere Deception. So I've gotten good recommendations from her. So I thought, I'm going to do this too. So I set myself a goal. I'm going to shoot for 30 books this year. So I picked the number 30, not based on previous years, based on the number of Audible credits I purchased. So I have, at January 1st, I had, or whatever, whenever my thing renewed in January, I had 28 credits. So I'm going to shoot for 30 books for the year. And I've finished 4 books already. So I quickly did a little not synopsis, but a little like, okay, I read Age of Iron by Angus Watson and I loved it. I would give it 5 stars. It was a historical fiction about the Celts, and yeah, it was great. And then I read Clash of Iron, which was the sequel to it, which is also by Angus Watson, and I hated it. I would call it historical horror. Like, it was, I don't know. To the point, spoiler, he killed my favorite character off in that book, and this is supposed to be a trilogy. I am not reading the 3rd one because I still have images of torture in my head, and maybe torture was part of it, of the Celtic experience back in, I don't know, Roman conquest, whenever that was. I'm not a history major, but yeah, no, I won't be reading any more of his books either. So that one got 1 star. The Baptism of Fire, so that's initially, I don't know the author's last name. I couldn't pronounce it if I did. So that's the Witcher series. There's a Netflix series. They took the books and the video games and made them into a TV show, and there are going to be more episodes. And it's intended to be a campy, kind of dry, witty, historical fantasy. It's not historical. It's fantasy. So there are, vampires and monsters and all that stuff, and he's a monster killer. The Witcher is a monster killer, right? And there's also all this civil war going on across the continent that he's on, and all these empires fighting, and so there's that too. It's got a little bit of political in it, so that's interesting. And there's a princess and all this stuff going on. And there are wizards and witches. Well, no, I think they're sorceresses. Also, so there's magic in this world too, right? It's a very well fleshed out world, and I think he's written 6 or 7 books, and they're originally written in Polish, and the characters they're very lovable. Like, the more you read about them, the more their personalities come out. And having watched Henry Cavill be the Witcher in the series, and they got the perfect guy to play his musical poet best friend that sometimes is on adventures with him for the series, so that made it even better. It's good, it's decent, right? It's an 8, but here's the thing, that the TV show brought it more to life for me, made it easier for me to follow, but at the same time, I don't know who half the characters are. I can't keep straight which country is fighting with which, or where they are in terms of the continent, or what's happening 90% of the times. That is pretty annoying about this series. The one-off stories, so he wrote a book of just short stories that are kind of fairy tales twisted into like the concept of Beauty and the Beast, but then it's like, that's all, like a beautiful woman falling in love with a beast. Okay, now write a completely different story about a monster, and the Witcher's in there, and all this stuff happens. So those are creative. You don't have to understand the whole backstory. And the other thing he does is I can't even knit. I'm so animated about this. He does a lot of time jumping in his stories, so there can be a story within a story within a story, and when you still can't even keep track of all the characters because the names are really weird. Like, I just generally know, like, okay, the dwarf, Zoltan, I think is his name, and there are other dwarves, but I don't know their names, and, yeah, there are, like, 4 main characters. I got them, clear as day, but then, yeah. So, I would give that a 3. All that to say, I would give it a 3. And then I read I, Claudius. Oh, sorry, I don't know who wrote that. I can't remember. Excellent. I had read it before, historical fiction about, after coming off the Celtic theme books being conquered by Romans. I was like, oh, let's read a Roman story. So he was part of the Caesar family and eventually became emperor of Rome. So there's a sequel. I have the sequel. I would like to read the sequel. So that was the second time I read I, Claudius. It's probably been 10 years, so just like generally I knew the outline of the story, but all the details were fun. And The way it's written kind of in a journal form, and she's pretty wry, and it's humorous to read. So there's that. Let's see. Oh, I have to jump back and tell you one more. In terms of what I've been watching, I fell in love with Stargate, SG-1, sci-fi girl, right? So I started it. There were 10 seasons of Stargate. I remember my dad watching it when I was in high school, and it was like I would walk through the living room on a Friday or Saturday, whatever, he'd be watching it, and it's like Gould and Jaffa, like the names just confused the heck out of me. The notion of ghouls was disgusting. Like, whenever he had that on, I would just roll my eyes and go do something else. So now I've watched 9 seasons, and I had watched 8.5. And I knew I was getting close to the end, and they're like friends. You know how that is when you watch a show for 10 seasons? Like, I would say if you watch a show for 4 or 5 seasons, you become like emotionally attached to these people. At least I do. Maybe I'm the only one. But yeah, so I stopped watching them for probably a year because I didn't want it to end. I didn't want things to happen to my people. I didn't, So when Steve was in Denver last week, I needed a little bit of company in the evening, and so I started watching it. Holy cow! Season 10, I would say 7, 8, 9, the writing was, and we lost Jack O'Neill, who's like the funny old curmudgeon main character. They switched him out with this new guy, so it always takes a while to get used to a new guy. I see every new Doctor on Doctor Who. The first season of them I can't even stand till I fell in love with them, as I always do. But so those 3 seasons were they were rough, but suddenly the writing has gotten great. They added a new, cosmic villain. It's about high level. It's space travel, science fiction. So, and the 200th episode, if you have any interest at all in the show and you haven't seen the 200th episode, it is so worth it. It's hilarious. And they added in a second female lead, it's like an ensemble. So a second main female on the team, and she's hilarious. I love her to pieces. So that's great. It's great. So I'm on season 10. I'm about halfway through, and it's like running downhill. I totally have to know what's going to happen here. So it's been good. Our friends recommended The Outsider, which is on HBO. It's based on a Stephen King novel. And when they recommended it, they said, there's, it's like SVU. Children are harmed in this, so you might not want to watch it. When they said that, I was like, you're right. I don't want to watch it. But I was looking for a new book after I finished Witcher, and I saw, wait a minute, because I'm a huge Stephen King fan. Wait a minute, I have The Outsider in my library, and it's marked as finished, but I have zero recollection of reading this book. So, okay, let me start again. So I started again, and wait. I would classify it as a story about a man who is innocent and his, trials, or the progression of how he proved his innocence, how his friends and family and everybody got to that. I would not, like, the child being harmed is like 1/10. No, that's way too high. It's like 1/100th or 1,000th of the story. Like, it had no bearing on me. And the book was written, I think, last year, or I read it last year. So, anyways, it was like, Terry Maitland, the minute I heard his name, I was like, oh, I know this. And so I jumped to the end, and I was like, yep, I knew this. So I started watching the HBO show, because in my head, this is not about children being hurt, and it was kind of graphic. So take that with a grain of salt. The first episode was kind of graphic. I've watched 3, and the others are fine. They're fine. So I don't know how they could make it more. I mean, they could make it lean more towards the horror, and I'm kind of wondering if that's what they're going to do, because they focus so much on the child being hurt, and I would say the book definitely does not. So take that with a grain of salt. It has Jason Bateman, who, if you watch Ozarks, you love him. Everybody loves him, right? Child of the 80s here, whatever that show was, with the dad and the twins and the, do you remember? Not Silver Spoons. The aunt, Sandy Duncan, was in it. Anyways, he was on that, and I thought he was super annoying when I was growing up, and I didn't like him. And I think I had a crush on the other twin or the older brother. I just didn't like him. And so it's been hard since he's come up. You know, his career has definitely grown. I think he did something with Jennifer Aniston. It's been hard for me because I'm like, I don't really like him. He has so grown on me. I watched half of Arrested Development and lost interest, but maybe that's what kind of, like, oh no, he's a nice guy. So, yeah, he's the innocent man in The Outsider. Well, he might not be the innocent man. I'm not gonna. He's the star of The Outsider. I'll say it like that. Anyways, so that's good. So you might want to watch that. But the other thing I will say, and I wish our friends had not started, they had talked to me before they started watching it, because that story is a spin-off of the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. And I did the same thing as with Stargate. I read the first two in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy with Bill Hodges. He's the detective. It's very different than the horror Stephen King you're used to. This was like NYPD Blue Stephen King. And they were great. I love his writing style, so of course I thought they were wonderful. And I didn't want to read the third one. I own it, but I didn't want it to end. The same thing. I didn't want my people to get separated. And so I picked up The Outsider, not knowing it was a spin-off set in the same town, lots of the same characters. Normally I'd be like, woo, there's more story to go around here. Yeah. So I found out things about the end of the one I didn't want to read that made me sad. So if there's any part of you that's interested in Mr. Mercedes, that series of books, the Orange series trilogy, don't watch The Outsider. Read the books first. Because some UK broadcasting company has got the rights to Mr. Mercedes, and they got an actor that he's perfect. He was Mad Eye Moody. There you go. They cast him as Bill Hodges, and he's perfect for it. But I have not done enough research on how to watch it. I'm assuming I could probably buy it on YouTube, or I couldn't, and that's why I haven't watched it, because yeah, he's one of my very favorite characters. Really great. So there's that. That's The Outsider. HBO, books. I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say. I have been super chatty with you. I hope you got some good knitting in. Let me see your progress. Because I didn't. I had to talk with my hands. I was busy. So, happy Valentine's Day. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And enjoy what's going on with you. All right, I'll see you in about 10 days or so. Oh, no, it's not time to be done. I have to say one more thing. Okay, so the frog pond, the epic trip to the frog pond. Thank you so much. I think that's my most commented on video ever. From the bottom of my heart, I so appreciate feedback. I always do. So thank you so much. And if you enjoyed it, look out. There's going to be a part 2. So I recorded that probably a month ago at this point. And when I went into editing it, it was over 2 hours. Well, the raw footage was over 2 hours long, and I couldn't get it to save that big a file, so I had to split it into 2 parts. So next week or the week after, there'll be a part 2. If you enjoyed that trip to the frog pond, there's totally another trip coming at you. So, and now that I've shown you the first part of it, I can start working on the projects. I didn't want to mess up my timing and have you see me working on things. So anyways,